Man, shall we? Aaron Rodgers became the second quarterback in NFL history to throw 6 touchdowns in one half on the way to the Packers' 55-14 win over the Bears. The Bears become the second team in NFL history to allow at least 50 points in back-to-back games. Stephen A., you watched that game last night. Where do the Bears go from here?
Skip Bayless, Kerry champion. I'm not joking. I would fire everybody. And I sincerely mean this. I would not have allowed Mark Trestman to leave the stadium last night as an employee. I would not have allowed him on a team plane. I would have made sure he had to pay his own flight home. As a matter of fact, I think I would have done the same for the players. You make enough money, find a flight, rent a car. National Avis, Hertz, they all do good deals. Let me tell you something, man. It was an atrocity last night. 42-0 in first half. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the National Football League. The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, this one storied franchise, has been outscored in the first half of the last 2 games, 80-7. They are an abomination. They are a disgrace. And as far as I'm concerned, nobody, Phil Emery, gone. General manager, got to go. You sold your soul. It's one thing to let go of Lovie Smith, because remember, I was right on this show, and I said that Lovie Smith needed to go. 3 playoff appearances in 9 years, even though one of them was a Super Bowl berth. I never once said he shouldn't be a head coach again. But I do believe, Skip, that there comes a point in time when your time is up. It doesn't mean you can't coach. It doesn't mean you can't do
even though that year they went
10-6. I'm just saying that it comes a point in time. You knew what the mandate was, and you didn't make the playoffs, period. But there comes a point in time where it's not about your ability. It's just that there's a time you need to go, because you need to go somewhere else, because there needs to be a different voice. This is not that case. It's a level of incompetence that's incredibly alarming. You look at Trestman and his coaching staff, they seem completely clueless. And you look at this organization, they sold itself. This is Chicago. This is the Windy City. You can't predicate your success on offense. It's about defense. And Mark Trestman never had a defensive background. You brought him here to try to institute and implement some kind of high-powered offense. How is that going to work for you when you could throw a football in November or December, and the football might be like a golf ball with me swinging it, where it goes straight and then to the right or to the left, hitting people's windows and all of this other stuff? You can't have that. Your success can't be predicated on that. You've got Matt Forte. You've got Brandon Marshall. You've got Alshon Jeffrey. You've got Martellus Bennett. You've got a decent, at least, offensive line. You've got brothers on the offensive side of the ball who can play. And that's your signature, your streak, and you look clueless doing that. And we ain't even getting started with the defense. It is so embarrassing. I remember Trent Dilfer went on SportsCenter and highlighted how bad it was. He said, you have 11 guys on the defensive side of the ball. You had some dudes playing man, some dudes playing a cover 2, some dudes that were sitting there in a different kind of zone. You had 3 different defenses being played by the same 11 guys. That's cluelessness. You can't have that. We can go into Aaron Rodgers and the 6 touchdowns because he is a bad man. We can go into the 145 rating. We can go into the 2018 and 27. We could go into Jordy Nelson and this touchdown. We could go into whatever we want to get with Lacey taking a touchdown off a screen pass. We can point out all of that. In the end, what it comes down to is this. The Chicago Bears are an atrocity, and everybody needs to go. Mark Trestman, as far as I'm concerned, should be fired today. Today. Phil Emery, the general manager, should be fired today. And the rest of the players should be put on notice that, you know something, none of you might be back next year. And oh, by the way, y'all put forth another performance like that, you're going to take your own butt home if it's on the road. We ain't even paying for you to get on a charter plane. That's how bad it was. That's how bad it was.
As you know, I was at the Chicago Tribune as their columnist for several years, so I have a pretty good feel for Bears history.
That's right.
I believe that halftime last night, given the expectations for this team, and especially for this quarterback of this team, halftime last night was the lowest moment in Bears history. Not in recent history, in ancient and recent history. 42-0, and do not underestimate the Bears-Packers rivalry. That is your arch rival. And all the things you just talked about became painfully clear at halftime, trust me, to every Bears fan watching on TV.
Of course it did.
And again, this team teased its fans. Remember, it did have the one Sunday night win early at San Francisco with the big second half comeback. Jay Cutler threw 4 short touchdown passes. But when you give up 50-something at New England, then you have a bye week to lick your wounds and plug your leaks. And you come back out against your arch rival in a big stage night game, and you give up 42 in the first half. Many things, as you just alluded to, are very, very wrong. So it's time for them to start over, because clearly, number one, as you say, this team is not responding to this head coach.
No.
Just not even the offense is not responding. And listen, you didn't bring up Mel Tucker, the defensive coordinator. That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's just it. I'm sorry. I don't care. You've had your shots. You have to start over, which brings us to Phil Emery and what he is going to, even if you fired him today, there's one thing that you cannot undo. He just gave Jay Cutler a long-term deal. He made him the franchise quarterback. And you know how much I have loved Jay Cutler because he went to my school, Vanderbilt.
And you know I never loved him.
Okay, I still love my school. I no longer love this quarterback. This quarterback continues to regress, even in the first half last night. He makes 3 killer blunders. He continues to commit killer turnovers that this team cannot overcome. And he can't save this team with his leadership or his passion or his dedication or anything you get from him in press conferences. Do you get any emotion from him? Do you get anything uplifting from Jay Cutler? No, you don't.
That's my problem with what you're saying. There is no leadership from Jay Cutler. There is no inspiration. There's nothing about him that galvanizes anybody. He looks depressed most of the time. And I don't know why that is, and I'm not going to speculate about it because this isn't the forum to do so. But this guy went from your quarterback. There has to be some kind of intangibles that you can lean on. He has none. He's lifeless on the field. He's lifeless in press conferences. Damn it, his outfits look lifeless. Everything about this dude looks lifeless. And to me, the fact that you gave him money as an executive leads me to believe that you are not fit for the job, because you are supposed to do your homework. The most important position on the football field. When you make that kind of investment, you got to know. And let me go back to your guy, Tony Romo, because I don't want people to faint when I say this. No matter what to knock Tony Romo about, I could never accuse him of that stuff. Tony Romo tries to give it to you. Tony Romo, there's something about him. There's a fighter. You see a fighter in him.
I agree.
You know, you might see a gunslinger. You might see he might be an accident waiting to happen. I might joke around about that. But at the same time, he does a lot of good things as well. But I don't see guys looking at him and saying, you know what, what's he going to give me? I can't believe in this guy. You could see it. The only person that seems to support Jay Cutler is Brandon Marshall. And how many times I get on Brandon Marshall, as much as I love him, I always get on him for wearing them Jay Cutler pom-poms. I haven't seen him wearing it over the last few weeks. Maybe the good thing that could be said about all of this is that he has become wiser.
I agree.